All right, welcome to the next class. So this is going to be the fun series of videos where we get to design that mobile application, the Boba Tea ordering on demand app that you saw in the last video. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the login and sign up workflow. And while we're doing that, we'll learn how to create and use a component library. And we'll also learn how to create and share the clickable prototype as well. So let's go ahead and begin. What we're going to do here is let's go over to the design goods here that you have. And what you want to do here is, if you zoom out, this artboard here, the one that says design goods, don't click on the inside. Those are clicking on elements. Click on the artboard itself. You can see here, this design goods. Or I can click on the layer here on the left that says design goods. And that's clicking on the entire artboard. Go ahead and click that. You can do a Command-C or Control-C if you're on a PC, but Command-C for Mac. Or you can go to Edit, Copy. Get over to the Learning page here, and go ahead and paste that. Copy that again, and paste that here. So you can see all the elements that we're going to use for this. All right, and the pages that we're going to design here are if you go to the final prototype link here, are this series, everything underneath this black bar that says sign up and login, you can all see right here. So don't copy these. I'm going to bring over some of these elements here just so I remind myself what to show you as we continue our journey on building out this application. All right, so let's go to the final prototype. I'm going to show you real quick how this will look at the final version of this video. We're going to do a loading screen with the map. We're going to do the login, sign up tabs just like this. And then we're going to create these forms here and click on or tap on the email and name form. Tap on the keyboard, puts the email in. Click on the password, opens up the password inputs. You can't live type in Figma. It doesn't have that functionality where I can live type something. So you're sort of prototyping or mocking up what this experience would look like once it's developed. And then you could type on the keyboard. But most prototype tools don't have that functionality unless you're using real code. And so we'll get up to this point, and we'll go ahead and stop there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do and that we're going to learn is how to create an artboard. So go ahead and get over to the learning page here. And what you're going to want to do is go to the top left here. There's this tool here, which is called the frame. Click on the frame. And you'll see on the right here where it says design, you'll have a whole list of artboard sizes that you can create easily within Figma. So it has phone, it has tablets here. So you have an iPad mini, iPad Pro, it has desktop. If you're looking to design for a MacBook Pro, a Surface Book, an iMac. It has watch templates here, it has paper, it has social media. For this case, you can also just click and drag and make any type of artboard size that you want. And you can manipulate the sizes with the width and height here. So let's just say I want this artboard to be 100 by 100, kind of a smaller artboard. I'm going to zoom in on that. Pretty simple. Again, you can just click here, create the frame. For our, any frame that you want, but for our purposes here, I'm going to select these two artboards and delete it. We're going to use the iPhone X here. So we're going to go to the iPhone 11 Pro X and just click on it. And you can see it automatically added the artboard size affiliated to an iPhone X that you have. I can also move this artboard around just by clicking on the top and dragging it. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up here. All right, and the first thing I want to do in this artboard, once I have it selected, is I want to come over to the fill here, and I want to click on the fill, and I'm going to make this all black. So drag this dot here all the way to the bottom right. And what that did is that created the background of this to be black. You can change it any color if you want. We're going to use black for this setting. So at this moment, you've just learned how to create an artboard that's specific to an iPhone 11 screen size, or you can create any size artboard that you would like. And then we learned how to grab that artboard here. You can see there's a layer, a new artboard over here layer. If you click into this layer, we can name it. So let's go ahead and give this a name. Let's say this is the loading screen. And you can see here I can change the fill. So if I just click out of it, click back into it, I can change the fill here. All right, the next thing I want to show you is how to save or how to create and save a color to reuse throughout this experience. So we have black, which is a hex color. We have it 000000 is the hex tone. What we're going to do here is we're going to click on the little 4 dots here that you see. And we have a thing called color styles. I already have some here labeled. You may not have any right now, and that's totally fine. We're going to do this together. So go ahead and press the plus button here. See where it says create style. And what that's going to do is going to create a black color for us to reuse. So let's call this black. And go ahead and press the create style button. Bada bang, bada boom. And now I have a black style here. If I want to edit this black style, all I got to do is click on it. If I click off into the artboard here, and I don't have anything selected, on the design tab, it just shows me my dashboard, which shows all of the styles, including color and text styles. You probably don't have text styles yet. That's okay. We're going to set these up together. So if I want to change the black here, I just double click on the black, or I click on the black, and then you'll see this little setting here. Press the settings, and now I can change this black property and see how it changes already on my artboard. So wherever this black color lives, if I have many artboards, I can change it in one place, and it will change throughout all of the screens, which I'll show you here in a minute. Okay, so we now have our first screen with a black background. What we're going to want to do here is to get over to the design goods section and grab the information. It's the settings and battery and time that lives on your iPhone. And you can see the tab here. I got this from the GUI kit. If you go to the design page here, and you can see all these settings here for the status bar, the settings, percentage of battery, time, Wi-Fi. These all change throughout your when you're using an iPhone. I usually just go with the time and the battery at the top. And it makes it feel more like a real live application that you're using, which is the goal of these tools, is to mimic actual software, even though it's just screen designs, which allows us to test and learn quickly and iterate quickly, and then eventually build out these application experiences with engineers with real code, and eventually get an application to market and create businesses. Okay, so let's go back to our learning tab here. I've already created the one that we'll need. So just if you click on it here and go ahead and do a Command C. And go back to your artboard here. You can see I'm zooming in, holding Z. And then I'm using my space bar again to move around. So I'm going to even zoom in even tighter here with just holding Z, clicking and dragging. And I'm going to paste this. So I'm going to do a Command V, or you can go to Edit, Paste, up to you. And I pasted that here. I'm going to put that into the top here, just like this. That should be fine. You may see this is already on the right selected. It has the fixed position when scrolling. Make sure that box is checked. We don't want this status bar moving around. We wanted to keep it fixed. It always stays in that position at the top of your iPhone device. I'm going to zoom out by doing a Command minus here. And the next thing we're going to do here, if you want to come back to the final prototype tab and just check on what we're building here. We're building out this screen here. Has the map, has the status bar, has this cool icon, this boba tea, has the boba tea logo, and it has this loading text here. So let's go back to the learning page here. Let's go grab this map here. I have the one that's already been cropped, and I'll show you how to crop this if you want to get this section here. So go ahead and grab the image to the left here. You can see there's a crop icon at the top. Go ahead and click on that, and I can pull this in now, and I can crop an image. You can see here I've cropped an image. Press return, and it crops it. Press Command Z or Edit Undo, and it goes back to the steps that I've done. If you go Command Shift Z, which is redo, you can see here. And Figma is nice because it has these, it has the quick keys here next to your functions. So as you get to use this, it's best to start learning the quick keys, and you can move through this pretty quick. So I'm going to do a Command Shift Z, and I've cropped this down here. Now, if I also want to move the image within this crop down, I can go ahead and click on the crop tool again. And just by clicking on the inside of my crop, I can move this image around. And if I want to also blow this image up a little bit, I can grab the corners of this image and I can scale it. Usually when you're scaling, it's best to hold Shift so you don't deform your image. So if you hold Shift, it holds the perspective of your image. So I'm holding Shift right now, I'm dragging my mouse up and down, and I'm downsizing and upsizing. I'm scaling my image. All right, the next thing here is you can see when I went into the crop tool, it automatically opened up the image functions here. So let me talk a little bit about that here in a second. So if I go to the fill here, it has the image on this box, and I click on it, you can see I'm in the crop area right now. I can also change this. I can fit the image to that square. I can fill it so it fills the square. So if I scale it, it's filling that space. I can tile it, which I'd never really use, but it will tile the image. So if I scale it down like that, you can see kind of cool all the tiling that's happening. Tile is kind of like your floor tile. You know, it's taking a section and it's copying it all the way vertically and horizontally. I also have some image settings here that allow me to add the color within this image, and I can pull back the transparency a little bit here. I never use these, so I usually tend to stay away from these. So let's go ahead and go back. So if I went back and I wanted to fill this shape with a color, you can see I filled it with a color. I'm going to go back to image here. I always keep it on image. I never really use tile that often either. I usually just set it up to have a fit, and we can go back to our crop if we wanted to crop this guy again. An easy way to change your images here is if I click on this image, see where it says choose image, I can click and I can select another image. Let's just say for this case, I'm going to select one of my images here. Let's go select a boba tea image like that. And now I've just swapped out this image. But it's being fit and cropped within that space, so you can see it's interpolated the image a little bit. Okay, so that's some basic functions of images and cropping. I'm just going back into the space that we have here. But for the sake of the design, let's go ahead and grab this image that I've already cropped, and let's go paste it into this artboard. So if I want to paste something into an artboard, I click the top left, which is the artboard layer, and I do a Command V. You can see you can go paste here as well, Command V. And there is the map. Now I want to set this map below you can see it should be below the status bar here, which it is. And I also want to set the transparency on it down a bit. So you can see I'm going to go ahead and move the transparency down. Let's say about 20% here. I'm just pressing shift down, shift up. And if you undo shift, it gives you the actual increments. And if you hold shift, it gives you increments to the 10th. So 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I'm going to do 20 here. That looks good. Okay, now let's go grab the Boba Tea logo here in all pink. So I'm going to grab that, press Command V. I'm going to go back over to my artboard here. I'm going to paste it right into the center. You can see I'll automatically align it vertically centered for me, or horizontally centered. And just around there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just like that's fine. Next thing I'm going to add for this loading screen is I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to grab this Boba Tea illustration here, Command C, copy it. I'm going to pop over here and I'm going to paste it right on top, Command V. So again, copy is Command C and paste Command V. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the text tool. So the tool here is at the top left that has the T on it is the text tool. I'm going to click on it. And this is how I can create typography in my application. So now I've clicked on it. I'm going to click and drag on the widths of my artboard here, just like this. And I'm going to type in the word loading. And I'm going to do 3 dots. I'm also going to change this fill here at the bottom to white so you can see it's loading now. And let's get into some text attributes and text functions that we can do right now. By pressing the fill on the text here, I can change this any color that I want. I have the color bar here. If I drag this, I can select colors. And I can also make transparencies here, all within this color setting. And similar to the colors that are the squares that I showed you in the past video where you can make them gradients and linear. You can do that as well as text, although I wouldn't recommend it. I don't typically put gradients in text. Most of your design serves communication. So when your typography has gradients in it, it makes it hard to read. And the goal of typography is to read it and help educate the person using this application or giving them context. So again, don't use linear gradients, anything like that for your text. Just use solid. And I'm going to use white for now. Now let's go ahead and say I want to blow this up a little bit. I want to make this text size bigger. So I'm going to close the fill here. And all I have to do is select the text box that I have. And see here where it says 15, I can start bumping that up. Let's make it 18. And you can go down on it as well. And that's how you decrease and increase font sizes. This one below it is called letter spacing. And that's the space in between the letters. I want to up that a little bit. Let's do like 8 there. A little bit easier to read when it's spaced out like that. Okay, and let's go ahead and set this text here to have a transparency to it. So let's say 50% transparent. Actually, you know what? Let's keep it 100, and let's actually pick out a gray that we can use. So whenever we use grays, I typically like to put a little bit of blue coloring into my gray versus just gray. The blue coloring helps to add a little bit more modern tone to the application. So I'm going to pick any blue gray, like this is fine. Any blue will work too. It can be like a cool blue or a darker blue or even a teal blue if you want. But I'm going to just go with a normal blue. Let's say that. A little bit lighter. Okay, let's do that. All right, at this point I want to save this color. So I want to reuse this color. So how we did that before is we click on the 4 dots here, the menu for fills, and we had that little plus here. I want to press plus, and I'm going to call this cool gray. You can give it any name that you want. I'm going to call mine cool gray. And now I'm going to create this style, and now I can reuse this style anytime I want. You can see when I click on it, it has the cool gray color. If I don't want to use that color, for example, I want to try something else, you click on this detach here, and now it detaches it, and I can go back into the normal color setting that we had. But I don't want to do that. I just want to keep it as cool gray for now. All right, great. So we have the loading screen here. I'm going to go through my checklist to make sure I showed you everything. We went through on this screen alone. What we learned was some typography settings. We learned some color, how to use gradients, resizing text and imaging, cropping, creating color styles, and then we'll get into creating some of the components on the next screen here. All right, so the next screen we're going to build out is, if we click back on the final prototype here, I'll show you, is this boba sign up and login screen here. So let's go back to our learning page here. All right, so now that we already have an artboard, you can see here that has the black background and some and the status bar here as well. Instead of creating another new artboard by using the frame tool here, what we actually want to do is we just want to copy this artboard. So there's a couple ways that we can copy this. I can click on the top here. You can see when you click on the artboard, it highlights blue versus anything that I want to click on and select within the artboard itself. But in this case, we want to select the entire artboard. So you can see I can click, I can move and drag that artboard around, but I want to copy it. So one thing I can do is I can do a Command C and I can do a Command V. And it copies the artboard automatically for me and places it right to the right of that artboard to the left here. You can see. Another way I could do this is I can click on the artboard, hold Option until I get the double arrow. You can see here the double arrow. Click and drag it to the right and then let go. And when I let go, I've copied that as well. So one more time on that one. I click and hold Option until I get the double arrow. And when I hold Shift, it keeps this aligned. So I can't move. You can see I'm moving my mouse up and down, but it won't let me remove this artboard from the alignment. Where if I undo Shift, I can move it around as much as I want to. So I'm going to hold Shift because you want your artboards aligned. You want to have a clean, organized layout. All right, so now I have the new loading screen. Let's call this the login screen here. So if you just double click over on the layer and you do login, we'll do login and sign up because it's both. All right, cool. So at this point, let's start removing some things. So let's remove the boba tea. Let's remove the map. I'm going to keep this this loading. Actually, I'm going to delete it too. I'm going to start fresh. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and grab the logo that we have here that has the white. You can see here. And do a Command C, copy it. I'm going to pan over to the other artboard that I have here and do a Command V. All right, just like so. And the next thing I want to do is I want to grab the text tool here and I want to create the sign up and the login tabs. So I click the text tool here. I'm going to click and drag just somewhere in the middle is fine. I'm going to type sign up. I'm going to do it all caps. I just typed with my cap locks on. Make this white. And you can easily change text here by doing, you can change the all caps of text here with the text menu at the top by going to original case. You can do lowercase here or uppercase as well. I want to keep mine uppercase. All right, cool. So we have sign up here. And what I have it is set at Roboto bold 19 points. Let's go ahead and create this as a character style that we could use and reuse throughout this application. So how to do that is similar to how we created the color style. See the little 4 dots here on the right in this text dialog box. I'm going to click on it. And I already have some text styles and character styles already created here. You may not see them, but what you could do here is create a new one. And let's just call this, sometimes I just name them what they are. This is a 19 point or pixel height. I'm gonna write point, and it's bold. There you go. And now why that's helpful is, let's say I use the text tool again. The quick key to command to use to grab the text tool, pretty simple, is T. And you can see when you hover over it, it gives you the quick key. So I'm gonna press T. If I just type anything again, so let's say I'm gonna do this outside the artboard here. So I do the text here, and I just type in 1. If I create, I'm going to turn this to lowercase as well. All right, and if I select this font and I go into the text here and I grab that attribute that we created, the character style, say 19 point bold, it's automatically setting up that character. And I can change it to white, and now I have the same font size and text style as the one that I've created here for sign up. All right, so what I'm going to do is copy this sign up here. I'm going to hold Option, click and drag to the right, and you can see until those two meet right in the center, you can see right there, and it will snap that binding box, that text box for sign up that I just copied will snap to the original one that I copied from. I'm going to grab both of those, and I'm going to just use my arrow key on my keyboard and just move those to the left a little bit, just so they're both aligned. And you can see they're both centered on the page. At this point, I'm going to type in login. And now I'm going to break this style and make it from the character text style dialog box here and make it a regular. Actually, let's make it regular. I'm also going to change it to about 40% opacity here, so you can see that. So one more time, I've grabbed the login, I've detached it from the text style that we've had, so you can see the detached style. Now this allows me to do any font that I want. If you want to choose other fonts, you can come in and select different fonts, but we're using Roboto for this case. And I'm going to change it to a regular. You can even do light if you wanted to. Let's go with light. And I'm going to remove the opacity down to 40. Maybe do 50 now. That looks good. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the rectangle tool. So I've gone to the top left here, and I'm going to create a little line. So what I did was I grabbed the rectangle tool, I zoomed in a little bit, and I've clicked and dragged, and I made a little line here, or a rectangle here, real thin. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this color to be this pink. So what I could do is, if I want a color that I'm viewing already in my design, I can try to select it over here, try to match it. You can also just grab the eyedropper here and hover over any color you want and click on it, and it will automatically make this color for you. Another way you can add the color here is I can click on this element. I can copy and paste its hex value over here, Command C. I can click on this new rectangle that I've created, and I can Command V, press return on the keyboard, and now I have the same color. The way I like to do this is let's go ahead and create a color style. So now that I have the color that I'm going to reuse, and this is going to be an action color. So this is the color that our buttons are going to be. Mostly anything that's clickable in the application, we want to create with this primary action color. So now that I have the color, I'm going to go ahead and click on our create style here. You can see I already had one created, but let's create it again. And I'm going to call this primary action color. I'm going to create that one there so you can see this new color that we have here on the second line. Okay, cool. So now we have the sign up and the login going. Let's go back to the final prototype here. And let's go look at the sign up. So we had first name, last name, email, password here. And this is where we're going to get into the creation of some components here, which this is a really important piece to check out. So let's go create these form fields. So let's go back to our learning here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the line tool. So I'm going to go where I can select the rectangle, just click on it. You see the drop down. You see the line tool. I'm just going to make a line, not edge to edge, just kind of within some boundaries here. Give it some space on the left and the right to the artboard. If I hold shift, it will give me a straight line. If I do not hold shift, you can see it gives crooked lines. We want a really straight line here. And I'm going to go ahead and make this white. So let's go ahead and grab white. And again, I'm going to make white a color attribute that I could reuse and reselect. So let's just call this white. Makes it real easy for me to select this. All right, so now I have white as a style. It's too strong for right now as far as the color goes. So let's pull this back in transparency. Let's make this like 20% here. All right, 20%. Looks pretty good. So now that you're getting the hang of it, I'll tend to slow down a little bit too as we go. Hopefully I'm at the right pace for you to follow along when. If you have to pause and kind of do it for yourself and come back and press play, that's fine too. All right, so the next thing I want to do here is I'm going to just copy over this sign up here. I'm going to just click and drag, hold Option, copy it over like that. And see how it's centered, meaning it has a centered paragraph setting where if I pull this box, it's going to center the text within it. I want to left align this, so not center aligned, but left aligned. And how I do that here is you can see the alignment tabs on the right. If I do the right one, it right aligns, there's center. We want left align. Yeah, just like that. That looks good. And let's title this your first name, all caps. Yeah, I'm going to center, I'm going to decrease the height on it a little bit. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now we're gonna actually create a component. So this is an important piece of how to make designing multiple artboards and applications real easy and efficient when you want to make changes across more than one artboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this name, the text field here, and this line. I'm going to copy it, Command C, and I'm going to come over to my page that I created here called Component Library, and let's go over there. And I'm going to paste it here. You can see I have the first name and the line here. Now I'm going to call this, I'm going to go back in where I typed in first name, and I'm going to call it title. Make sure your text box too scales the full width. You don't want your text box like that, that wide. You want the full width of the line that we have here. Okay, so I'm going to select the line and the title, and here's how we create a component. You see this little diamond-shaped icon at the top? Go ahead and click on that. And you can see now I've selected, it's changed the selection from a blue, as you see here, to a purple. That means that this is the master component now. So we want to change this name to form. And we're going to call it form default. All right, so what we're going to have is we're going to have this page that's called component library on the left, and that's going to house all of our components that we're going to use throughout this design that we're creating here. Okay, so I have the component library. We've created our first component. You can see here, form default. Let's go use this component. So now that I'm on this, back to our learning page layer here, if I go to assets, you can see I have it here, and I click and drag this component into my artboard, and you see how it has a purple selection and not a blue selection, because the purple is my component. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the first name that we've created, and I'm going to replace it with the component. So that's pretty common. What you do is you create a UI element. And when you should create a component is whenever you copy something. So if I want to copy this and say now make a last name, at that point I shouldn't have copied this component or this UI form field here and duplicated it and changed the name. At that point I should have created a component and started to use components. So what you don't want to have is you don't want to end up with a whole bunch of forms like this that are all individual that you can't change from a master view. And I'll show you how to do that here in a second. So let's go back. I'm going to Command Z. Go back some. And again, Figma's saving this the whole time. I could go File, and I could say, you see there's no save here. I can do a Command S, which is the shortcut for save. And you'll see here it says Figma auto saves your work and gives me a little peace sign. And they always put different icon, like little emojis in whenever you do a Command C. They just like randomly put whatever emoji they want, which is nice. So they're just letting you know you don't even save your work anymore. Like it just automatically saves it for you. Okay, so now I have my component. Again, how I accessed that was I moved from my layers here to my assets, and I clicked and dragged my component onto the artboard just like so. And now I want to replace this first name UI that I've done with the component here. And now I'm going to click into this component, and I'm going to change the name title back to first name. All right, so now we have a component we made that lives in this component library, and we have an instance, meaning a child representation of that master component living on this artboard here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this component, and now I'm going to create more instances of it. And I'll show you why it's important that we stopped and made a component before we copied the original text and line that we created earlier. So now that we have first name, I'm going to change this to last name. And do that as well. Give you a second. All right, and we're going to copy this again, and you can see it's giving me spacing increments here. So see how it said 12, there's 18. It's helping me automatically distribute equal spacing when you copy that way. So when I click and drag and hold Shift down, that's why I like to copy that way. So again, if I hold Option and I click and drag and I hold Shift, it keeps it aligned, and it also helps me know, oh, this is 18 pixel spacing from the last component there at the top, and that's equal distribution, that's what I want. Great. So let's go ahead and call this one email. And the last one that we had here was password. All right, now watch this. This is why it's really important that we made a component. Let's say that I'm talking to my client or another designer, and they're like, hey, you know what? It's better that we make all this first name text here pink. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and give you that example, and we'll go ahead and change it. So I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and change all of these to pink. In the old days, we had to click on one of these here and change each one pink. So I have to click and then select first name and change it pink. Then I have to go back to last name and change it pink. And then I have to go to email and change it pink. Then I have to do password and change it pink. But when we think about setting up our UI and components like this, what I can do now is I can go to my component library over here. And this is that master component that I created. So all the masters live here. So if I change this text color here to the pink that we made here, like that, and I go back to my learning page, watch, all of them already changed for me. So that's the beauty of why we set components up and why we reuse components, is it makes editing a component really easy because you do it in one area, the master component here, and you see all of them change throughout your artboards. And let's just say you had many, many different artboards like this. Imagine having to change all of those. Okay, I'm going to go back to my component. I don't want to change it back to pink. I was just giving that example. I want to go back and change this into white, just like we had before. Okay, cool. So now we have the sign up page looking pretty good. All we need to do is add this little eyeball, which will show your password if you're typing this, or it will also disguise the password as well, and the sign up button. So I'll show you how to do that. All right, so let's go create a button. Pretty easy and simple. Just grab a square, and let's go ahead and make a square here. Any size is fine. I'm going to use mine, like, I don't know, let's say 200 by, I would say 50. No, we'll do 60, should be fine. All right, so I have a button here, and I'm going to go ahead and round out all the corners. So I'm going to just type in 100 where it says rounded edges. And that gives me that pill button here where it has the rounded left and right corners. You can see Figma already helps me center this button on the artboard, which is really great. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a text tool here, and I'm going to click within this button, click and drag, and I'm going to add some text here. I'm going to call it sign up. And again, I want this centered. So back to our character dialog box here, press centered, and we have it centered there. I'm going to change the color here. I'll give you a second. And change the color to white. You can see it now. And if I want to access the rectangle underneath it, underneath the text, I can use the layers on the panel on the left here, so I can see I have the sign up selected. I want to go grab the rectangle underneath it. Go grab it here. If I was also struggling to get that rectangle selected, I could also lock something. So I can right click on the sign up and do lock, and now I've locked the sign up. So now if I click there, I'm actually selecting the rectangle. You can see because I'm changing the color. I'm going to go Command Z back, though I don't want to lock that text there, but just so you know, you can lock things here. Whenever I select a layer, I can also hide it. So let's say I just I press the eyeball icon here, it hides it as well. And you can see by having the lock, icon next to sign up that I still have it locked. So I can unlock it, and I can do that with every layer. I can remove the background rectangle. I can lock it just by the layer panel as well. So there's a couple ways you can do that. Let's go ahead and select the rectangle, and let's make this the action pink that we had before, and we're looking good. Okay, so one thing that we're going to do here is we're going to probably reuse this button a couple times. So let's go ahead and grab the button, Command C, and we're going to go to our component library over here, and we're going to paste it into our component library here. And just like we did with the form default text there, I'm going to go ahead and go to the top, see this little create component diamond. I'm going to create this component, and I'm going to call this the primary button. And now here's our master button lives in this component library page that we have. So now I'm going to go back to my learning document here. And now that I know that this button works well and it fits the layout, I'm going to grab my asset, go to my asset tab here, the top left. So I'll move from layers to asset. And I'm going to click and drag my sign up button over here. And you can see Figma will help me center this. And I'm going to delete the sign up button that I created earlier and just stick with the primary action button here. Oh, one thing that we didn't do is if I go back to my layer here and I go back to the component library, just give these default text here, give these proper names. So this isn't a sign up. We're just going to call this like text or default names here. So that has text. You can see here, I can click and select these on the layers if I want to as well. I can collapse them here to make it easy to see my components. I'm going to go back to the learning page, and you can see it changed to text, but I'm going to type in sign up. And now I've created that instance where my component library, if I go back to the left here, this button still has the word text in it because that's the master button. But I've created an instant or a child from this parent button by adding the word sign up. So this is, again, I'm going to show you an example of the beauty of using components like this. Let's say I have a button that says sign up. I have another button that says like next. I have another button that says submit. I don't know, I have another button that says like cancel here. Oops. All right, so I have now 4 instances of that master component, and they're different. They're different from each other because they have different text in it. So if I go back to my component library here, and I want to change this button, I don't know, to like, let's just go with like a hot blue. Like that. And I go back. You see how they picked up the styles from that master button, but they kept the instances, the different text, the same. So it didn't impact those the differentiators between them and the instances. It just changed up the styles that we wanted. We can even change up, here we have the bold setting style. We can even change this to say like, let's just do a light font, and you could see I can change the font to black now and come back over here, and you can see the instances picked up those styles, but they still have the different naming conventions to them. So again, that's kind of how we use those components here. And I'm going to Command Z back a little bit, get back to where we were at with just the sign up. Okay. And then all we got to do now is add the eyeball icon that we have over here in the design goods. So I just scrolled over to here, grab the eyeball, Command C, and just paste it right here. All right, cool. So now we have our sign up and login page developed. let's go ahead and make a prototype. So this is the fun part. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the login screen, and I'm going to go to my prototype here. I was in design tabs here. So again, these are all the design functions I need to help me design screens. But when I get over to the prototype section here, if I click prototype, now I'm in the prototype section. So this is how I stitch these screens together to make a clickable or tappable prototype. So what I'm going to do here is you can see when I selected this artboard here, I have to select the top left where it says loading screen, and I click and drag this little GUI arm to the next prototype or next screen. It highlights the screen that it wants, and it gives me a connection just like that. All right, so one more time. This is one of the very important aspects of prototyping here is I click on the artboard, I've clicked and dragged a GUI arm to this next screen, and I've now stitched these screens together. What it's also done here for me is it's given me a home indicator. So this little blue icon here, this represents the first screen that's going to show up on your prototype. So if you're ever at the prototype and you're wondering why your screen 1 is showing a different screen than the home screen or the first screen, it's because this is moved in different areas. So if I move this here, the first prototype screen will show as the login screen. But I don't want that. I want it to show up as the loading screen. Okay, and before I get into some prototype settings here, what we're going to do is just check out the prototype. It's the default interaction when you drag the little GUI arm to the next artboard is it will do it on click or tap. It's the same thing. And it will navigate here to the next artboard. I have it, yours may not be set as smart animation. Since my last prototype stitching was a smart animate, it defaulted to smart animate, but a lot of times it defaults to instant, just like that. So make sure your setting looks like mine. Make sure the interaction is just on click here. It has an instant. You can see instant. Don't worry about overflow behavior, preserve scroll position, anything like that. Just keep it simple for now. Okay, now to see your prototype, what you want to do is you want to come over here to the plus button or the play button and press the play where it says present here. Let's go ahead and press it. And yours may take a second to load. Cool. And you can see it's automatically placed this prototype into an iPhone. Oh, let me delete this. Play it again. Okay, so it's loading up my prototype. And you can see here, it hasn't placed my prototype into the iPhone yet. I'm going to show you how to do that. But if I click anywhere on this artboard or tap anywhere on this artboard, it's going to show me the next screen, which was that login screen. So I clicked and tapped it. To get this to fit within an iPhone device, go ahead and click outside. Make sure you're in the prototype tab here. And then click outside of it. And you see where it says device here? Give this a device. So what we want is, let's say iPhone 11 Pro. And then it gives you the options. You can do gold. We can keep it gold, midnight green, silver, space gray. I usually like space gray, but let's just go look at what gold looks like now. And you can see it put it into a gold iPhone. And now when I click on the first page, it takes me to the sign up screen. So let's keep it that way. And let's just change this gold to a space gray here. You can also change the background of your prototype. So if you want like maybe a white background. So now if I click on this again, you can see I have the white background with the dark screen. I'm going to keep it on dark though for now. And you can see here the starting frame. Another way to do that, you can select here and it will give you the different pages that you have here if you have different prototypes within these pages, but or sorry, the different artboards that are in the screen space. So you can see here I have loading screen. If I go to login, it will move this cursor to the login screen, or you can just drag it back to the loading screen. So again, that will be the first screen that your user will see when they go to this prototype. Okay, so now that we're here, some of the things that you can do as far as transitions go when you prototype is I have it set right now where anytime I tap anywhere on this artboard, it takes me to the sign up screen. The best way to learn about these types of things is just go play with it. So I'll show you a couple, but it's fun just to go around and experiment and play with the prototype, and you kind of go back and forth between these settings here and then looking at your prototype here. And if you ever want to go back screens, you can arrow back on your prototype here, the bottom, arrow forward, or you can press the restart and it takes you right back to the restart. But let's check out some cool transitions that Figma will give you. So right now I have the animation is on tap here, and it goes to instant, which just means that it just loads the prototype page really quick. There's no transition. It just instantly shows the login screen after the loading screen. But let's change that. So let's go ahead and do a move in here. So if we move in, it gives you selections when you have move in to do left, right, bottom, or up. And it gives you a little animation of what that looks like, a little preview before you go into your prototype to know what that looks like. So we can start with left. I can show you what the left transition looks like. So let's go ahead and go back to our prototype. And when I click on it, the page is going to come in from the right and move to the left, as you've seen that. So that's one way. We can do it from the right. You can see here, moves to the right. We can have it come in from the top. You come back over, click, comes in from the top. And we can have it come in from the bottom. So if we come back over, come in from the bottom, just like that. Cool. There's more in there to explore. I'll show you how to use smart animation on the next screens that we build out. But if you ever want to play with these, you can just, the best way to learn them is just go select different ones and play with it. But I want to keep this one back on an instant, so it just shows up instantly. And the next thing we want to do here is I can start selecting pieces of my design and stitch those together. So let's go ahead and remove the one that we did here. So when I select the artboard here, it has that one that just goes right here, the GUI arm that connects to the sign up page. Let's actually make it where I just click on the boba tee, and if I click and drag it to the artboard, that will make the prototype, inform the prototype that if I tap on the boba tea drink here, it will take me to that login page. So let's go look at that. So now I can click anywhere on the artboard that's not the boba tea drink, and you see it's highlighting the boba drink. It's telling me, hey, this is the only place on this screen that's tappable right now. But if I tap on that boba tea drink, boom, voila, it's taking me over to the sign up page. Okay, so we don't want that interaction either. I just want to show you how to create, how to select elements within the artboard and then drag or use the prototyping tool to inform the prototype that if you tap on that section or click, if you're using web, it will take you to the next artboard here. So let's undo that and click and drag back to undo. So once I make the connection, if I want to break the connection, just click and drag and then click off and let go. So let's go back to the loading screen and let's go back to the prototype we had where I drag over here to the login sign up. I'll let you do that. And what we want to do is we want to make a delay. And how you do that is if you go to the interaction here at the top, right, where it says interaction, and I click on the on tap, we'll have a setting called after delay here. So if I click on after delay, it changes the fields to the right here to milliseconds. So let's go ahead and change this from 800 to a 3000 milliseconds. So that's a 3-second delay. And let's go look at our prototype now. So again, clicked on loading, put my new connection, changed it from on tap to after delay, 3000 seconds. And what this will do is if I restart it, it counts to 3. 1, 2, 3, and now it automatically goes to that boba screen. So it acts as almost it was like a loading screen where it's loading 1, 2, 3, boom. Now I'm back at the sign up login screen. The only way you can get a loading this after delay prototype is you have to select the artboard itself. So if you selected this drink here and I connect the drink over to the artboard and you're wondering, oh, why can't I select that artboard delay? It's because you have an individual object selected connected to another artboard, and you can't do that. You can only do the after delay by full artboards in their own selves. So if you click that, make the connection, it will enable this after delay. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the login screen here. So for login, if I go to the final prototype page section over here, and you can see the login just has the email and the password there. All right, so we're going to go back to our learning page here. And what I'm going to do is, since I have all of the similar elements that I need here for sign up, or that I need for login on the sign up artboard, I'm going to copy. So I'm going to select the artboard here, hold Option and Shift, click and drag, and go ahead and copy this artboard. Okay, at this point I have the sign up as a character style here, and I have the login not set as a text character style. So I'm going to go ahead and just make the login as a character style here. So that was 19 points, and it was, I think we used light, so 19 point light, create style, just like that, and bada bang, bada boom. We have a new character style, 19 point light. Okay, so I want to change this sign up from the 19 point bold to the 19 point light. All I have to do now is just click on sign up, go to the 19 point bold, and go ahead and grab the 19 point light here. And then I can see I set the transparency at 50% here for login. I want to do the same for sign up now, 50%. Cool. Now I want to take the login and I want to go ahead and make that 100% opacity or transparency. And I want to make it the 19 point bold that we had. So there's 19 point bold. That's looking good. And now I'm going to drag this line over here to login. Center it right underneath login. All right, next thing we want to do is we want to change the form fields here to have an email and a password. So what we can do here is just grab the password and the email form, and just go ahead and move those up till they're right on top of the first name and last name. Do a Command C and then delete them. And then go ahead and select these two, the first name and last name, and delete those. And then on the artboard, select the artboard at the top. And what you could do here is you can go to Edit, and you can paste over selection or paste. And it will automatically paste right on the top. I typically just do a Command C, Command V, And I always select the artboard when I paste because it pastes in place when you select the artboard layer. So if I select the top where it says login and sign up, and I do a Command V, I'm going to go ahead and place that. One last thing I have to do is change the button text here from sign up to login, and then now we can prototype this. This is where we're going to use the smart animate prototype, which is really cool. So let's go ahead and grab the login, and what we're going to do is drag the prototype little GUI arm to the login screen. And you can see here it defaulted to Smart Animate. Yours might have been on Instant. Just go ahead and click Smart Animate. And then we're also going to grab Sign Up, and we're going to drag the GUI arm from the login screen back to the Sign Up screen, and also do Smart Animate. Okay, you're going to see that we didn't group intentionally. I set this up so you can see a problem with Smart Animate and how to solve it. But we didn't group the password and the icon yet here. And we didn't group these selections, the password and the eyeball icon over here yet. And you're going to encounter this problem when you do Smart Animate. And it took a little while for me to figure it out, but it has to do with grouping attributes. So you can see if I go back to my sign up screen and I click on login, you see how the eyeball moved up like that? And I go back to sign up, it moved back down again. So everything else transitioned well, except for that icon. It slid down and it slid up. And you may want that, but in this case, we don't want that. But what we do want is see how this little purple rectangle that we created under login smoothly transitions over to sign up. That's very nice. That's the Smart Animate feature working at its best right there. It's sliding over to login. So to remove the transition of the eyeball sliding up like that, what you actually have to do is you have to group these. So select the password and select the eyeball. You can do a Command G, or you can right click, and where it says group selection, do group selection. And you also have to do it over here on the login page too. So I'm going to do a Command G, or you could again right click and do the group selection. All right, now let's go look at that. Okay, that works better now. You can see just the thing that we wanted to transition in a smart way was the sign up, the rectangle underneath the sign up, and you can see it move under login just like so. And the button, the text changes as well. All right, cool. So that's the sign up and login. Let's go do the next thing here, which is to create the text for email and password. So if you see on the final prototype here, we have it where somebody taps on the email, the user taps on the email, they get this active form field here and the keyboard that comes up. So let's go ahead and go create that now. So since I'm already on the login page, let's again copy this login page, click on the artboard, hold Option, drag it, and boom, we've copied that. Okay, at this point we want to break and detach these components that we created here. So how to do that is if you right click on it, and where it says detach instance here, this will remove it from the component. So if I click this detach instance, it's no longer a component anymore. It goes back to just the designs that I was creating. It's just text and a line. And you'll see that the purple selection that indicates this is a component will go back to blue. So let's go ahead and detach this instance. You can see it now. It goes back to blue. Okay, like you saw on the final prototype, is when a user taps on the email form, the email actually goes smaller. So what we need to do now is we need to detach the email from the character style that we made by pressing this detach button. And we need to downsize this a little bit and move it up. So a couple ways that you can downsize is I can just select this and I can press the arrow key down. You can also quick key. So if I do Command Shift and I hold the less, I tap on the less than or greater than, those are the little like beaker icons on your keyboard. So if I do the left one, which is smaller than, it quick keys down. And if I do the one to the right, which is the greater than, it quick keys up. And again, I'll do a final video that goes through all the quick keys of Figma. But let's go ahead and change this back down. Let's do like 13. It's going to be small. Let's go move it up now. And now let's grab and click and drag. Grab the same email now. And let's go ahead and bump this up. So let's go ahead and do, maybe our 19 would work fine. Let's go even bigger. Let's go like 21. There you go. I'm going to make it a little tighter. And that should look well. Okay, at this point, we're going to go ahead and change the text color to our action pink, like that. And that looks pretty cool and modern. Let's also make it just a regular here as well. Okay, that looks good. All right, so we need to do this not only for the email, but the password as well. So remember what I said before you copy and paste anything is let's go make this into a component. So I Command C, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to my component library page here on the left. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to paste it over here. And now you can start to see I have one central location for all of my master components. So it makes it easy to know where are my master components at and where can I manipulate them to impact all the instances on the other screens. Another thing that you could do here is, since we've created those color styles, why it's helpful to create color styles and use them is we've been using this primary, this action color pink here, primary action color. And what happens if I, when I edit this color is it changes that color throughout any instance that that's being used. So we used it on the button, we used it on this rectangle, we've used it in the text here. So if I click edit on, and where I'm at right now is I'm just on the artboard, I don't have anything selected. So I just click out in the space here. I'm gonna go ahead and edit this color. And now watch when I edit it. Everything changes. Anything I've used that color changes throughout all my artboards. So I can change it to, I don't know, blue. So that's, again, why we use these color styles, is it makes it really easy to change across, say, if you had like 50 to 500 artboards. I'm going to go back on that. Go back to my component library here and go grab, again, the forms that I made here. So I have my email here. I have the email text that I'm going to write for my email. So the title and the text here, and have the line. So let's go back and change these from email to title. And let's go call this the input. And now I'm going to select these, the title input and the input text and the line together, and I'm going to create a new component just like so. On the left here, I'm going to change this component and call it focus, or form focus. You could even call it active if you want to, form active state. Okay, so I have now a centralized location of all my components here. I'm going to go back to my learning page here. Go back to my email focus state of that form field. Go to my assets, and I'm going to click and drag See where it says form focus? I'm going to click and drag this new component that I created right over the top. I'm going to Command C to copy it. I'm going to delete the one here. And now I'm going to select the artboard from the top. I'm going to Command V, paste in place. All right, so at this point, what we can do is change the title, go back, change it to email. And the input here, let's actually give this, let's go ahead and say test. I'm going to turn my caps lock off. test@gmail.com. So I have this set up here at the top to have uppercase. Let's go ahead and select it all. Go to text, go lowercase. And there's the lowercase one. Okay, I'm going to keep this password. This is all grouped, remember? So all I want to do here is just delete the password component. Keep this little eyeball icon, and I'm going to copy over the password. Or I'm going to copy the email form to make the password. All right, so at this point, let's change email to password. And let's go ahead and if you hold Option and press the number 8, you can do bullets, which is in disguise of your password. Yeah, it looks something like that. Okay, cool. What we need to do now is go grab the keyboard. So back to, if you go to the layers here, the top left, I have the design goods tab here. Just go over, or the page, go ahead and go there, and you can see we have that iOS GUI kit. Grab the keyboard that has the Go button here. And if you select it, you see there a lot of them are grouped, so you may have to select a couple times, like triple select to get it. Go ahead and copy it, Command C, go back to the Learning tab. Let's go back to that login screen there. Let's paste our keyboard into it, slide it down. All right. And at this point, once the user is ready to log in, they can click the Go button or the Login button to log in and continue forward. Okay, so let's stitch this up in the prototype. So again, let's go ahead and go back to our prototype tab here. Now anything that we select allows us to drag that little GUI prototype arm here. So let's go ahead and select the email, stitch it to the form focus artboard screen, and the password. Either one is fine. And on these transitions, we don't want smart animate. We just want an instant. Same with the email. Let's go back and make that instant. All right, let's go see how that looks now. So I'm going to click at the tab at the top where I have my prototype. You can also just press the play again. It will just open up the same tab. And I can go press my login, and I can press my email, and you can see I have my email and my password set. Looking good. I can click sign up again, and it just goes back to sign up. Cool. Okay, so the next thing we want to do here is to conclude our session. We'll do a couple things. Go back. We want to create the state in which I press the login or this Go button, and it's a spinner with the logo in it. And I'll also show you how to share this prototype at this point as well. All right, so let's go back to our learning page. Let's copy just the first screen, the loading screen here. Let's make another loading screen. Sometimes when you copy a new screen, go to the prototype tab and just make sure there's no, if you select the artboard, make sure there's no existing prototype links. So if I copy, say, this like boba tea artboard, you see how it copied some of those links. Sometimes just make sure that if you're copying a screen that either you may want those copied, or if you don't, go ahead and click off them like that and remove them. That's how you remove it. All right, so it looks like this loading screen when I'm on the prototype tab has no existing prototype stitching to it. No GUI arms are connected to anything. That's good. Let's just start deleting some elements here. I'm going to delete all of that. I'm going to keep everything. I'm even going to, or actually, yeah, I'm going to delete everything. I'm going to grab this boba tea logo here. I'm going to paste it in place into this new artboard, and then I'm going to move it down a little bit, say like right in the middle. And at this point, I'm going to go grab on the design good artboard that I have here. There is an animated GIF file here. You can see I have that. Go ahead and copy that, and you can paste it into this artboard here. And just put it right above the boba application. So if you're wondering where to get a animated GIF, you can just Google search. Literally just go to animated loading GIF, and you could do transparent background here. Or in this case, I have a black background. Go to images, and there's a whole bunch of them here. I think I selected this one here. And all you got to do is just select it. You can right click on it, save image. I'll go ahead and save it on, we'll just keep it on my downloads for now. Say loading GIF. And I go back to Figma and go over to my downloads. And this is how you can drag photos as well. Just click and drag anything from your file into the artboard, and you can see it loads just like that. You won't be able to see the animated GIF work or move until you go into the prototype. So I'm going to delete that for now, but that's the same animated GIF. You can also, there's also a site where you can create animated GIFs. So if you want to get a custom one, or create custom loading GIFs. Not from logo, but you just search create loading GIF, and there's one loading.io here. And this allows you to create, you can select different color palettes, you can select different loading GIFs and change them up a little bit if you want the arrow bigger in this case, or you want to slow it down a little bit, you want to change the color, all types of fun stuff that you can do. And then you can download this. You can download it as a GIF, and then you have to sign up and you can have a custom loading GIF, which is kind of cool. Okay, let's go back to Figma here. All right, so at this point, we need to stitch the login button to the loading screen, and we need to stitch the go button. If I just triple click into the go button here to the login screen. So you can see I have the login, click and drag that. And we don't want any smart animate, or actually, yeah, let's go ahead and do a smart animate here. See what that looks like. A lot of times with these prototyping is just play with it. If you don't know what to do, it's kind of fun just to see different transitions. Let's see what smart animate looks like. I think the logo is going to come from the top and move all the way down is what I think is going to happen. Yeah, that was pretty cool. We can keep that. And now you can see that loading GIF actually working. So this feels like a real application. All right, so last thing we'll do before we wrap up this video and we go work on the next series of screens is I'll show you how to share your prototype here. So all you have to do is click on the prototype anywhere and see where it says share prototype. Just go ahead and click on the share prototype button. It says anyone with the link can view. You can make edit. That makes them, they can get into your design. So if you're just sharing this for like user testing purposes, just do the can view only. Copy the link as well, and then you can paste that into a browser. Here's the link. And now I have that prototype here pasted. When you do share it, make sure you're on the screen that you want to share it. So let's go back to restart, share prototype, copy link. And now if I paste this into the browser again, it should start on that first page, the loading page. Yep. Cool. And then I can be anywhere on a browser and play with this prototype. This prototype link will stay the same. So if you make more changes, you add to this, you don't have to change the prototype link. It's going to link to that same workflow, and you can continually add more designs and change things to this prototype, and it will live update. So you can use the same link going forward for all of your design purposes. If you want to see what this prototype looks like on your mobile device, you come to the Figma mirror and download this on your mobile device. So it could be an iPad or an iPhone. And then what that allows you to do is it allows you to see this prototype that we're seeing right now on your mobile device. And you can tap on it and you can kind of check everything, make sure everything is sized properly, everything feels good. So I would recommend that as well if you're doing a mobile application, is to download this Figma mirror. And what you do is once it's downloaded, you just sign in, it knows what file you're on, and any artboard that you have selected, it will automatically mirror that artboard with the prototype links already set, these little, the prototype stitching already set on your mobile device, and you'll be able to tap on your mobile device and go through this prototype. All right. And the last thing I'll end on is the next video will cover a couple things here. We'll go look at the shopping workflow, which if we go back to our final prototype here, is this experience here of actually setting up a tab bar and selecting some mobile or some boba tea drinks, seeing a new transition that we'll learn, a slide up and a slide down. If I tap the X, we'll create an overlay transition, which is really neat. And we'll continue on to all the way of informing the application what boba tea you would like, putting it into your cart, and we'll stop there for that video. All right, and as always, thank you so much. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you on the next video series. Thanks again. Bye.